I believe it is Monday the 16th of November, and we're here for Gentle. So if anybody's out there and can hear, let me know if everything sounds okay. Make sure I'm not crooked. No. Nobody is. Occasionally, you kind of slip in. I need to kind of adjust that, but I try really hard to. No. And who would recognize any of us? We all have on our masks. So, okay, we're going to start. I know somebody's out there. Let me know if there's any issue, if the sound is not loud enough or anything. But let's sit. So I'm going to start in a chair today. If you know you'd rather sit on the floor, sit on the floor. Sit however's comfortable on blankets if you want to. Let your eyes close and really, really easily just start to accept your breath in and out. So at first, don't control your breath. Just enjoy feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. Lengthening up through the top of your head gives you more room to breathe, really. And see if you can start to bring your breath into your belly. Inhaling, feeling the belly gently expand. And then we'll let our arms come on out beside us. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the ground there. Let your shoulders soften down away from your ears. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let your exhale bring your hands right down through the midline in front of your chest. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel that connection there with your hands together. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now, inhale your arms out just a little bit away from you. Flex your hands a bit here. Let yourself press. So you're pressing into kind of diagonal lines, really, with your arms. Pressing downward just a little bit. And then let's bring our left arm on top of our right. Give yourself a hug. Let your shoulders release down. Let yourself release your chin a little forward. And then bring your chin back up parallel to the floor. If you want to head towards eagle, sending the backs of the hands towards each other for your eagle wrap, you can. You don't need to. You can stay hugging. Let yourself be mindful here as you start to gently turn your head to look to the right. So think of just turning to look right over towards the wall there to the right of you. And then come on back into center with your head. And then just slowly turn to look to the left. And then release to come on back into center. And one more breath here. And then unfold our arms on down beside us, inhaling here. And on the exhale, twist to your right. Bring your left hand around, maybe to your right knee, maybe to the midline. Back arm, releasing either down the back of your chair or fingertips lightly touching the floor there. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you back around into center. Let your arms float out again a little bit away from you. Flex your hands again. Press down a little bit into the heels of your hands. And then we'll bring our right arm on top of our left to give a hug. So again, let your elbows melt down. Let your chin come down a little bit. Release there. The back of the neck, maybe even into your upper back. And then bring the chin on back more parallel to the floor. You don't have to go into eagle wrap. You can if you want, releasing to send the backs of the hands towards each other. or the left fingers into that right palm. Stay hugging if you'd rather. Nice inhale. And as you exhale, turn to look to the left. So just let yourself turn like you're, again, keeping your chin pretty parallel to the floor. And then coming on back into center. And then we'll turn to look the other way again. Just turning your head, letting yourself find that release there. And then release back into center again. One more breath here. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us here now. And from here, clasp your hands behind you. So if you're in your chair, you might need to move a little bit forward. Let your hands clasp back there. And then as you exhale, come a little tiny bit forward. Just keep your back nice and long. And when you inhale, come on back up to sitting. So take your time. Just ease your way now, moving a little bit with your breath. If you feel like you want to deepen and go farther in the forward bend, you can. It's not necessary. You can let yourself go just a little ways if you'd like. Take your time, just moving easily with the breath. And then the next time that you come forward, let yourself stay there. If you feel like you want to fold more over your legs, do it. That's up to you. If your arms want to release a little bit off your back, your hands a little off your back, you can do that. As much as feels good for your shoulders. And then we're going to rise on back up and let our hands come on out beside us. Let your hands circle around a little bit, circling through the wrists, both directions, reverse and go the other way. Shake out a little bit. And if you're cross-legged on the floor, let yourself switch the leg that's in front so that you even out your hips a little bit there. And then bringing the arms on out again beside us. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your elbows. Let your hands come down. Now, they may come all the way behind your head or maybe not. It depends on you. They may be more on the top of the head. Let the elbows reach upward towards the ceiling if you can, only allowing what your shoulders will let you do, really. And then start to reach the hands up above your head again. And let's lower our left arm down, fingertips to the floor. If you're on the floor, we're going to come into side stretch. So really reaching through that side of the body, breathing into the ribs. You can use your hand for a little bit of support there on the ground, or you can hold your chair, or you can put your hand in your lap. And then we'll rise on back up, lower that right arm down, and let's inhale the left arm all the way up. And we're going to come over to the other side. Again, hand can give you a little support however you need it. Breathing into between the ribs there on that left side. And then we'll rise on back up and lower that arm on down beside us. And let's come forward again into a little forward bend. Up to you how far. If you're on the floor, you want to put your hands on the floor, go for it. Take your time, be mindful, really easy. Let your head hang if you're able to. If that puts too much into your low back, don't do it. You know that. You can keep your head more in line with your spine if that's better. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on up. And then from here, let's let our feet come on out in front of us so we stretch our legs long, whether you're on the floor or sitting in your chair. And then let one foot point and the other one flex. Doesn't matter which one. And then we're just going to switch. So we're going to pedal the feet a little bit. So every time you inhale or exhale, let yourself switch as you pedal through the feet here. Feeling your ankles, waking up the ankles and the tops of the feet, and all the way up the legs, right? And then finish off, flex through both feet again here now. Good. And then we'll release and let yourself shake out a little bit. We're coming around towards our hands and knees, unless you know you don't want to be on your knees. Use your blanket. If you'd rather have your chair in front of you and put your hands up on your chair, by all means do. Or if you want to get out of your wrists you can always come down to forearms, whether it's on a chair or blocks, whatever kind of support you have to move through your back, right? So I'll show this way for a little bit, then I'll go to hands, but let yourself just start to move through your cat-cows so that you're very mindfully feeling that tailbone either draw up under you as you round up into your cat pose, or as the tailbone reaches back and then up, belly sinks, ribs sink, heart sinks. So take your time. Let it feel really good. Wake up your spine in a good way. And if you feel like, cat or cow feels good to stay in for a breath or two without moving, do that. And complete the one you're on so that you can come to a more neutral spine here now. And then just look over your right shoulder. Let your right shoulder go a little towards your right hip. And you get a little more in the left side waist there. And then come back to center and look over the left shoulder. Look back towards your foot back there. Feel a little more in the right side waist. And then come on back into center again. We're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back to find a lunge here. So you can use whatever height of support you need for your hands in your lunge. Remember, we're all different, how long your lunge is. You want a little bit of width between your feet, like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, so you feel good up into your hips. Take your time. Hands can be on the chair. You can be up on the highest part of the chair if you need to. Open up through the back of that right leg. And we're going to switch and go to the other side. So bringing that right foot forward. And again, take your time. Let yourself feel like you're reaching into that inner left heel. So the heel is reaching directly behind your foot. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Good. And we're going to switch again. And we'll switch one more time. And let's step forward and come on into our standing forward bend from here. Feet, hips distance apart and parallel. And you can have your hands up on any height you need, up on the blocks, on the chair, on the floor. But let yourself shift a little bit now. Shift up to the balls of the feet, rising your heels off the ground. And then bring your heels back down and lift your toes up off the floor. So you still have the balls of your feet on the floor. And then come back toes down and lift up your heels again. So you're just shifting up to the balls of the feet and then releasing to lift the toes up. Do that a few times so that you just feel working through the feet here. You can go as high as you want with the heels. And then finish off the one you're on. Let yourself release now into center. Knees can be soft, remember. Feel your sitting bones over your heels. Use whatever support you need to be comfortable in your back. And then just accept your breaths now. Full deep breaths. Let your face soften. Let go of your jaw. And we're going to bring our hands on up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise on up to standing. We'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So take your time to find your mountain pose. If you need to move around a little bit to get evened out for your mountain dew, let your hands come gently together there in front of your chest. Spread your fingers out a little bit. And for a second, let your pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger come apart. It's like you're making a little bowl with your hands. So the outside, the pinky and the thumbs are together here. Just let yourself release, bringing the gaze on forward and out. Feel released in your shoulders. And then softly let all the fingers reconnect. Spread your fingers out a little bit. Really feel that soft connection here in your hands. And then rooting through the feet here. Feel that sense of drawing upward with your thighs a little bit. Tailbone releasing down towards between your heels. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And then we'll release and unfold our arms down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend the knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. So reach back through your tailbone. Think of the back of your head being in line with your spine. So try not to lift your chin up like that to shorten the back of the neck, but keep the neck nice and long. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Press those feet gently away from each other now. Engage your belly. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Now, whether your hands are on any height of the blocks or on the floor or the chair, let yourself reach equally back through both your sitting bones so you imagine that you're equal in the sides of your body. Spine is lengthening. So if you need to bend your knees, do it. Elbows hug inward. And then we'll come on out towards a plank, nice and strong. Engage your belly. You know, you're welcome to come to your forearms if this bothers your wrists, or to put your knees down and do a half plank if you'd rather. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And we'll bring our right foot forward now to come into lunge. So whatever you need to do to get into that lunge. Left knee can come down if you need to. And we'll step on back into standing forward bend. Right to your breaths. Go right to feeling those full deep breaths. Think of the inhales and exhales evening out a little bit. You might want to count when you breathe in and think about reaching that same count when you breathe out. And then we'll bend our knees. And we're going to bring our hands to our hips and rise on up. Inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands up to the midline. Keep your hands together and bend your elbows like we did earlier, where you bring your hands down, maybe to the back of the head, maybe to the top of the head. You may even want to look up, lift your chin up just a little bit. Really allow the tailbone to reach down towards between your heels. One more inhale. And on the exhale, reach up through the arms now, long arms. And as you exhale again, fold forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice flat back, head in line with the spine. And we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. Good. Inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. Again, whether your hands are on blocks or the floor, it doesn't matter, or the chair. Elbows hug towards each other. Reach back equally through your sitting bones. And let your next inhale bring you out to that plank again, nice and strong. Think about your sitting bones reaching down towards your heels. If you want to bend your elbows, let the elbows come a little towards each other. And if you want to come into a little push-up, full or partial push-up. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Let's bring our left foot forward now to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Easy breaths. If you're okay to hold your elbows, let your hands just release to your elbows. Do it. If it's too much for your back, use support. Feel the weight of your head. Again, let the breaths even out if you can. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips. Bend the knees, press into our feet equally, and come on up. Inhaling the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms. Bring our hands behind us. Clasp your hands here. Let your arms come pretty long. Don't lock your elbows, but slide the hands down so you feel all that space between your ears and your shoulders. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, bend the knees and come on forward. Now, you can stay parallel to the floor, keeping a long back there. You can fold over your legs if you choose to. And if your arms can come away from your back, you can let that happen, where you come into your shoulders, releasing wherever you can. Feel the feet on the floor. Press down into your feet. Imagine you're trying to widen your mat with your feet. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we're going to walk into a down dog from here. So whether you want your hands on the chair seat or on the blocks any height or the floor, come on back into dog and hug your elbows towards each other. And we're going to come on out to plank from here, nice and strong. Engage your belly. And if you want to do a back bend, you're more than welcome to come down to the floor, do a sphinx or a cobra or no back bend at all. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit if you want. Let yourself bend a knee at a time. And then we'll do that same thing. We'll come out to that plank. Again, optional back bend. If you're on the floor and you want to come down, you can come into sphinx on your forearms. You can come into a little cobra. Or you can press up higher in towards an up dog if you choose. And then we'll come on back into down dog. And let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So really be mindful. Let your head nod and shake a little bit. So you're really allowing yourself to release there, feeling the weight of your head. Softness through your jaw, your face. Imagine your forehead smoothing out. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips, bend our knees. We're rising on up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose here, let yourself take your time. Feel as balanced as you can between your feet, both right to left and front to back, really. See if you can feel your sitting bones over your heels, tailbone dropping down towards between your heels. And then just enjoy finding that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. And then we'll go ahead and unfold our arms on down beside us and shake out, move around a little bit if it helps you move through your feet. If you're using your chair, you might want to turn it around. And let's get our blocks handy, too, at the front of our mat in case we need them. We're going to step our right foot back and come on into Warrior 2. So we're going to line our heels up. Line up that front knee right out when you bend it, right out over the center of the foot. Feel that back foot grounded here. And then just float your arms on up. Turn your palms up for a second. Let your elbows soften down. And go ahead and look, if you can, at your left palm. So feel that sense of really easily softening in the tops of the shoulders. And then go ahead and turn your palms down and reach out through your fingertips. Now your arms are really reaching away from the midline equally. Soft in the tops of your shoulders. Feeling that sense of the feet equal in the mat. You feel very balanced and strong in your Warrior 2. And then we'll turn the left palm up. We're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky. Let your right hand give you a little support back there. And on your exhale, come into your side angle. So either your left hand or forearm can go onto your chair or your thigh. And you can decide about adding that right arm on up. Remember, it's fine to keep your hand on your hip. It's fine to let your hand stay where your shoulder is comfortable, right? Let the right pinky turn down a little bit towards the floor so you feel that sense of the right shoulder releasing away from your ear. One more breath. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two from here. Press those feet away from each other as you rise on back up. And we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And we're going to come on forward into a wide-legged forward bend. So as you do, grab blocks if you need them. A block, both blocks, doesn't matter. Hands to the floor if you'd rather. And then go ahead and bend your right knee and stay for a breath to let that left inner thigh stretch out. And then when you're ready, you just shift and go to the other side. And then come on back into center. Let both knees bend. Let yourself bring your elbows above your knees if you can. And maybe even touch the tips of your fingers, the tips of your thumbs together there. And really let that release back through the tailbone. Enable you to release a little more in your hips here. One more breath. And then we're going to come into where you can stay to be with your breath in this pose. You may decide you want support under your forearms with the blocks underneath or your head on blocks. Maybe it feels better for you to let your hands come back to between your feet and let your head hang. All up to you and your back and your hips. But just focus now on those breaths. All the way in and all the way out. One more full deep breath here. And now when you get ready to rise up, take your time, walk your hands out, use them on your thighs or your hips if you need as you come on up. And then bring your feet together. Walk around a little bit if you need to. Take your time. We're going to go off to the other side, so get everything all set as you think of stepping that left foot back and lining up your heels. And, if you have your chair there, you can use it to give you support for balance. Now keep your hand there as long as you need it. Let yourself line up your heels, line up that front knee. Float your arms on up and out. Turn your palms up and let your elbows soften down. Looking at that right palm there, or whatever feels right to look at there. So you feel really good, really easy in your shoulders. Now think of feeling your feet equal in the floor. And then we'll turn our palms down, reach out equally so that we feel that sense of reaching just as much back through the left fingertips as we're reaching forward through the right. Feel the feet pressing away from each other a little bit on the mat, like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And then we'll turn the right palm up. We're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky. Nice full breath into the right ribs. And on your exhale, come into that side angle. So again, you can use your chair, you can use your thigh, hand or forearm on either one. And then if you decide to add that top arm, you can bring that arm up into line with the left side of the body. Pinky turning down. If that hurts your shoulder, don't do it. Sometimes bringing the arm straight up feels better. If you want to do some shoulder mobility, but you can't get it in line, then try that. One more breath here. And we're going to come on back into Warrior Two again. Press those feet away from each other as you rise on back. And we're going to bring our hands down and turn our feet more parallel again. We're going to come on forward into a wide-legged forward bend. Again, use your blocks if you want. Let yourself really find a nice long back. So whether your hands are on a block or on the floor or blocks, lengthen out. Find a nice long back. And now press your feet away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat. And imagine your inner thighs are melting back behind you. You'll come into the outer legs there. Let it feel good. Let that openness happen there. And then shift over to the right, or maybe walk your hands over towards your right foot or the outside of your right ankle. And then come on back through center and shift a little to the left, or you can walk all the way over again towards the outside of your foot or your ankle. And then we'll come on back into center again. And now go ahead and bend a knee at a time, or bend both your knees if you need. Let it feel really good. So you can set up, again, to be in this pose so that you can focus on your breath. So support if you need. Under the forearms, blocks, or hands on the blocks, or again, letting your hands come back more, even holding your ankles or having your hands between your feet. And then focusing in, all the way in through your inhales, all the way out through your exhales. And when you're ready to start to rise up, take your time. You know that. Use what you need to bring yourself on up. And bring those feet together, however you need. Move around a little bit again. And we're going to come into Warrior One this time, stepping the right foot back. Have both your blocks handy. And if you're using your chair, let the seat of it turn to face you. So as you step forward towards the front of your mat, we're going to step our right foot back into Warrior One. So let it be, kind of try it a couple of times. So you bring your foot up, you're in together here. And then when you step this foot back, it comes just to where it's comfortable, right? You're not really pushing yourself to take a really long stance. And you're getting your shoulders around square towards the front of your mat. The back foot, remember, is turned out 20 or 30 degrees. And now see about bringing your hands behind you. If you can hold your elbows, or your forearms, maybe your wrists. If it's your hands, it's your hands, right? But you want to, as you come here into the arms back behind you like this, you feel how open your chest is. Your tailbone is still reaching back on a diagonal line, which is what you want. And see if you can come into a couple of three-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly, into the ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. As you exhale, the breath comes out of the chest, then the ribs, then the belly. Good. And then release. Let the arms unfold on down beside you. We're going to reach the arms forward and rise them up. Now you can do a wide V, or you can bring the hands over your shoulders. It's up to you. If you want to look up a little bit, you can bring that gaze up. Not to the point where you feel discomfort in your neck. Just enjoy one more breath here. And then we're going to bring our hands all the way down and find lunge. Whether you use the blocks or the chair, release that right heel now more directly behind your foot. And we will add a twist. Left hand to the left hip and turning to look towards your left hand on the low back, palm down, or stretching that left arm up if you choose to. Just enjoy finding that twist in the middle of your back. One more breath. And then we'll bring that hand back down, and we're going to find pyramid from here. So letting yourself now draw that right heel down to the floor and turn it in a little bit. Both legs are going to come straight. So thighs are lifting upwards. Really let yourself lengthen out through the body. Think of being about parallel to the floor if you can, right? You might be a little bit lower if your hands are lower, but just really think about that long back. Feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. And then see if you can bring your left hand to your left hip and roll that left shoulder up again, coming into revolved triangle. Hand on the low back again. Palm down if possible. Letting yourself find that twist again in the middle of the back. One more breath. And then bring that hand on back down. Now you can bow over this front leg. If it feels good to fold forward, do. And then let yourself come back up, bend the front knee, step forward, get your feet right underneath your hips. Come into your standing forward bend. Let your knees bend, though, pretty deeply. In other words, almost like your belly is relaxing onto your thighs, right? And the knees are bent. Let yourself breathe there. And then we'll press into our feet. We're going to rise on up to standing. And inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, let your hands come right down together in front of your chest. Spread your fingers wide. Have a nice release here into your mountain pose. And then we'll release. Let the arms come on down. Good. So we're going to come to the front edge of the mat again. Remember, both feet under us. And we're going to step the left foot back to come into that warrior one. So when you step back, again, let it be pretty comfortable. If you do it a time or two and you're like, well, that doesn't feel good, that's too far, or that doesn't feel good, it's not far enough, kind of get to the place where then you get really equal between your feet. And you feel very mindful about squaring your shoulders. And then bring your arms behind you. Again, you may not be able to hold elbows. That doesn't matter. You can hold a wrist. You can hold the hands. You can hold forearms. Just let that openness happen here. Now remember, you're not tucking your tailbone forward. Your tailbone is reaching back on kind of a diagonal line here in Warrior One. The belly is lifted, though, so there should be no discomfort in your back. Inhaling into the belly and then to the ribs and all the way up into your chest. Good. And then unfold the arms on down beside you. And let's inhale the arms forward and up. Again, you can be a wide V, whatever feels better for your shoulders. Let your pinky fingers turn a little in towards each other. Maybe even bringing your gaze up. Feeling that lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. Feel the lift of the belly. Release of the low back. One more breath. And then we'll bring ourselves on down with our hands, finding lunge with hands on whatever height you want to use. And now letting that left heel release directly behind your foot. We're going to add a twist. So keeping the left hand grounded, bringing your right hand to your right hip and turning into your twist. Palm can stay down there on your low back. If you feel like stretching that arm up, you can. Good. And then we'll release to come back to lunge. Now, we're going to find our pyramid pose. So we're going to straighten both legs out. Usually that means that back foot might come in a little bit. You're still turned out 20 to 30 degrees with that back foot, but the heel's on the ground. Now lengthen out here. Let yourself find again that long spine. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. So you're really active in your thighs, which really uses all the muscles around the knees. So now as you think about adding that twist here, left hand stays grounded, right hand comes up again, and you roll that shoulder up, finding that twist in the middle of the back. Think of drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other. Good. One more breath. And then bring your hand on back down. Now, if you want to fold over that leg, you can. If it feels very good to allow yourself to fold over, go for it. One more breath. And then come up enough to where you can bend that front knee now and just step forward with your left foot. Get your feet under you. Go ahead and adjust. And see if you can do what we did before. Shift to rise your heels up onto the balls of your feet. And then bring your heels down and lift just your toes up, finding those four corners of the feet. Your knees can be bent doing all this, all right? Do a few times of lifting the heels up and coming down to lift the toes up. So just take your time. It's this kind of gentle little rocking motion. And then the next time you get down now and you're really evened out between your feet, enjoy a couple of breaths, whether you want to hold your elbows or use support. Bring your awareness to those breaths in and out.
we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So whether your eyes are opened or closed in your mountain pose, bring your gaze on out as though you're looking at the horizon. Feel that sense of length in the back of your throat. Let your jaw go. Make sure you're not clenching anywhere in your face. Try to let everything feel very soft. Imagine you're being supported by the air all around you. So it's, in a sense, almost effortless to be in your mountain pose, like you're part of the space around you, really. And we're going to go ahead and let our arms come on down and shake out a little bit. Move through your hands. Walk around if you need to. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. So, Helen, you could be there. You guys all have a spot. And we're going to come into a little tree pose. So let your left hand come to the wall. And let's bring our weight onto our left foot. Now, before you actually think about just immediately drawing your foot up, put your right heel on the inside of your left ankle with your toes on the ground and the ball of your foot too, right? So once you're there, you can let go of the wall and make sure that you're lifting up through the front of the leg you're standing on, that left leg, so you're not sunken back into the hip. And then see about bringing your arms up overhead into a wide V or maybe right over your shoulders. That's up to you. There's a tree pose right there. You don't have to come into like any high thing with the right foot, but you can, if you want, try lifting the foot up to your inner calf right now and see how lifted up you are to do that. Take your time. Put the foot back down if you need. Stay in the tree pose with the toes on the floor if you feel better to do that. Use the wall if you'd rather too, right? One more breath. And now release. Let yourself turn to face the wall. Put your both hands on the wall for a second. And then bend your left knee. Flex through the left foot. Feel the heel coming in towards your buttocks. Now, you don't have to reach your left hand back and get a hold of the top of the foot. You can if you want. And you can even pull the heel in towards the outside of your buttocks a little bit if you want to stretch your quad out that way. And then if you want, you can push the foot into your hand if you're holding on to the foot and let the knee come a little behind and let yourself come forward with your chest a little towards the wall. Now make sure you're not locking your right knee. That's the thing. Sometimes it's really tempting just to lock that knee you're standing on. Good. We're going to come on back down with the knee. Release your foot on down. We're going to turn right hand to the wall. And again, get yourself set so that when you shift your weight to your right foot, you can put your heel right there to the inside, that ankle bone right there, right? Your toes are on the floor, maybe even the ball of the foot. See if you can rise your arms up from there overhead, lifting through the front of the right hip. So you can't sit back and be in tree pose, right? There's such an engagement in the core of the body. Make sure you're not throwing your shoulders back behind you. And then see about what happens if you try to lift your foot up to the inside of your calf. Oftentimes you're like, well, that doesn't work too well. So you can always put your hand back to the wall to readjust too. You can go up and down if you need to. Nice. And then we're going to release and turn to face the wall. Both hands there to the wall. And let the right leg bend. Put the foot as close towards the buttocks as you can as you flex your foot. And then again, totally optional to reach back and get hold of the top of that foot or ankle. And at first, pull the heel in. If you've got your foot, think of drawing your heel in towards your buttocks a little bit. And then start to imagine you're trying to straighten that leg out. The knee's going to go back and your chest can come forward towards the wall. Pressing that foot into your hand. Take your time. Remember, you don't want to lock that supporting left knee. Good. And then come on back down with the foot. We're going to turn on around back to the wall and walk our feet out enough to where when we bend our knees, they don't go out beyond our toes, but you can bend and feel your quads. Now, this is up to you. You know, if you want a little more, you can grab a block and you can put a block between your thighs and come down here and imagine really that you're kind of sending the block down, right? Like, sort of like a Pez dispenser, right? Anybody remember Pez dispensers? so think about like you're feeling that block come downward towards the floor, which is really going to line your knees up, but also that squeezing in activates big time into the hips. So take your time. You don't have to do the block. You know that's voluntary. Let yourself turn your palms away from the wall. Release all the way up through the top of the head. You don't have to force your head back to the wall. So if you put the head back to the wall, if that makes your chin lift up, then don't put your head all the way to the wall. Just feel the shoulders into the wall, maybe the backs of your hands. Squeeze. If you've got that block there, squeeze into the block. Good. And then we're going to release. So take the block out if you have it there. Walk yourself on back up. Good. And then from here, let your heels be maybe 6 to 8 inches from the wall. And send your hips forward. So from here, your head is back into the wall. You can have your chin lifted up as much as feels good for your neck. You know, you may want to go higher with the gaze. You may want to stay, you know, a little more down. And then hands on the hips at first. Let your elbows just softly draw back towards the wall a little bit. And there you are in a back bend. So the top buttock muscles are reaching downward. You're really opening here through the front of both legs, through the front of the hips here. Feeling that sense of either releasing the hands more down behind you, clasping them if that feels good, or just keeping the hands on the hips or on the low back if you want. Let it feel good. Open the front of the body. It's a nice support for the head. One more breath. And then shift the hips on back towards the wall. And we're going to make our way down to our bellies on our mats on the floor. So come on down and take your time. Get yourself down with your feet back behind you. Let yourself rest if you can. Stack your hands up. Rest your forehead there on your hands. Let your legs kind of flip-flop so the heels go in and then out, in and then out. So the tops of the feet are on the floor, right? But you're letting your heels just go in and out, in and out. And then bend your knees, bring your legs on up, lower legs up, and let the lower legs come from side to side, like windshield wiper blades. If that's okay for your back. Good. And then we'll come on back into center. Let's come onto our forearms into Sphinx pose with our elbows under our shoulders, if possible. And you know you can always bring your elbows down towards your waist, not go up very high, whatever works for you. And then let's clasp our hands together. Send our pinky fingers out. Press into the outside edges of your hands there. Now you can lift up with the feet and come into a half forearm plank so you're on the flesh above your knees. Imagine drawing your elbows like they're trying to draw down towards the foot of your mat a little bit. You're drawing yourself forward. Same thing if you do a full forearm plank, letting yourself come up with your knees. Imagine that you're kind of drawing your elbows down a little bit. Now engage the belly. Try not to sink into the belly. One more breath. And then we're going to come on down. Let's reach our arms out into a wide V towards the front corners of our mat. Bring your forehead down to the floor. And then as you inhale, float everything you can up into a locust pose. With the arms overhead, it's a little bit harder. It doesn't have to be high. If you need to leave your fingertips on the floor, do it. Right? Sometimes that's helpful. Or you can float the hands up if you want. And then we're going to release. Bring your elbows again back underneath your shoulders and go right back to that either half or full forearm plank. Engage your belly. Reach your sit bones down towards your heels. Press into the outside edges of your hands if you can. And then we're going to come on down, and we're going to shift back towards child's pose from here. So you know, if you need to stay somewhat forward to come into the pose of a child, do. You want to be okay in your knees and your hips, and that's different for all of us. So you can let your forehead come to the floor or use a block. You can let your arms stay soft overhead, or you can bring them back alongside your legs. Full breaths into the low back. And now come up enough. We're going to thread the needle with our left arm. So let your left arm come under so that you come down. You release your shoulder a bit. Now, if it's too much to put your left side of your head on the mat, you can put your right hand under your head if you want, or a block. Yeah, or you can put your head on the floor. You might even want to reach your right arm overhead if you've got the head on the floor. That might feel good. You can reach it up like you're doing a down dog with that right arm, right? And then bring your right hand back by your face so you can press up, and we're going to go the other side. So threading the needle with that right arm through, and again, you can put your head on whatever support you need, your hand or a block. You can put your head, right side of your head on the floor. And then again, whether you stretch that left arm out overhead or not, that's really up to you. Really letting go there. Feel that space between the shoulder blades on your back. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come up. So using that left hand to help you, come on up. And we're going to come on forward and shift to turn around to sit with ourselves. Legs are out in front of us. And grab a blanket if you know sitting up on a blanket is better for you, because we are going to bring the soles of our feet towards each other into a Baddha Konasana. So remember, this pose, everybody's different. It depends on how your hips are built. You can have your feet out as far away from you that feels good in your hips, so you have more of a diamond shape there in the empty space, or you can bring your feet in close. If bringing your feet in makes you want to sit like this, then it's better to have your feet out a little bit so you can sit tall. Use your hands if you need. The other thing you can do is use your blocks if you need. They can be underneath your legs like this so you don't feel like you're tensing up in your hips just to sit here. And that all has to do, again, with how you're built physically. So just imagine for a second, whether you're using your hands or not on the floor, that you're reaching your knees away from the midline. So you're not thinking about pressing them down. It's like they're reaching away. So it enables your inner thighs to feel like they're getting longer. See if you can just appreciate that for a breath. And then come forward just a bit if you can. If not, don't. I mean, maybe you have your hands behind you and you come forward like a half an inch. Or even less than that. Or maybe it's more just in your mind that you come forward. Some of you, it feels very good to come forward and over towards your feet. It's up to how you're built. So just breathe and let yourself find that release in your own hips wherever you can. Good. One more breath. And now slowly come up. Now, if you're up on a blanket or a block in particular, when you lean back a little bit and you think of lifting your feet up, be really careful. Don't, just if you need to, come down off the block or the blanket. And then just think of here what you're doing in order just to barely lift your feet up. Your core goes crazy. So there, your belly and your low back are really working right here. You don't have to do any of this other stuff for that to happen, right? If you feel like, well, I would really like to have one leg come out a little bit, I mean, you can hold on to your big toe, or you can hold on to the foot, or you can hold on to the leg. You can try the other side. Doesn't have to go straight. It can just be a little bit. And that's a challenge, just to even let one leg come out so you're not symmetrical anymore, right? That's even more of a challenge in the core. And then if you want, you can try both at the same time. So again, you can just play there. There you go. Just make sure you don't fall backwards and bang your head into the wall. I speak from experience there, so I've done it. It doesn't feel good. And then when you're ready, bringing yourself on down, let your feet come out in front of you really wide, and then bring your hands behind you, and let the knees come from one side to the other at your own timing. So you're just letting yourself here come from side to side. Let it feel good. You're getting a nice stretch in the front of that hip. Like when you go to the right, your front of that left hip gets a nice release there. You can kind of shift the hips a little more forward if you want more. Good. And then come on back into center. Bring your legs on in front of you. Shake them out a little bit, and we're going to lie down on our backs on the floor. So get on around so that you can lie down comfortably, letting yourself bring your knees on in towards your chest. Let the knees come a little bit side to side. Let your back release. Whatever feels good to you. The knees can circle. They can circle in the same direction. They can circle in opposite directions. So everybody's back and hips will be feeling differently right now. You have to find what will help you find the most relief for your own back and your own hips. And then come on back into center. Let's stretch the legs up and do just like a little biking up here. So let yourself just move a little bit. They don't have to be fast bicycling. I mean, you can if you want to go fast. You can go fast. You can actually let the bike come a little bit so that the feet come a little more down towards the ground, or you can keep the feet up in the air. Just let it be some easy, gentle movement. Now try back pedaling. See if you can back pedal, which actually kind of almost feels better. And then release and bring the knees on into your chest. If anybody wants to curl up into a little ball, you can. Don't do it if it bothers your neck, but you can bring your face in towards your knees. Let yourself release there. And then we'll come on down into the floor. Bring your feet onto the mat. Bring your arms out beside you now into a T position. Now, whether you want to face your palms up or down when they're out there on the ground, that's up to you. I like mine to face up. It feels much better to me, but you might feel like you want to turn your hands the other way. And then cross your right thigh over your left. So you're like your woman cross-legged, right? Thigh over thigh. Flex that right foot. And now see if you can use your belly to pull the knees in towards your chest. Flex through both the feet once that left foot's off the floor. Just let the hips release there with both feet flexing. Feel that sense of space in the back of your throat. If you're finding your chin is lifting up, you can grab a blanket, put a little bit of blanket underneath the back of your head. And then go ahead and bring your left foot down to the floor. We're going to lift ourselves up, hips up, shift to the right 2 or 3 inches, put our hips back down, and let our knees go to the left. So as you come over into this twist, your right foot will hit the floor pretty soon. You can support yourself there. You don't have to lower the knees down. Or you may decide you want to put a block underneath the right knee, or even the outside of the left leg, if it's better for you than having the knees come all the way to the floor. And now see if you can turn your head to look to the right. Maybe even letting your right arm come up a little higher. That's up to you if you do that or not. Depends on your shoulder too. But try to release into this twist. So instead of You know, if you feel like it's not comfortable, put support somewhere where it'll feel better and you can relax into the twist. Good. One more nice full breath here. Now, as you start to come up, you might want to uncross pretty quickly because then you're really cockeyed. You want to bring your hips on back again into lining up your spine. Good. Arms straight out from your shoulders again. We're going to bring our left thigh on top of our right. Flex your left foot. And then again, when you think of rising your knees up, don't be mindless about it. Really think about using the core strength there to draw the knees in towards your chest. Flex through both your feet. Let it feel good to open up there a little more in the hips or find a little release. And then let the right foot come back down to the floor. We're going to lift the hips, shift them to the left 2 or 3 inches, put them down, and let the knees head over to the right now. Again, if you need some support, maybe slip a block or blanket underneath. Give yourself time there. And then turn your head to look to the left. Let yourself release there in your neck. If the left arm can float up a little more towards that corner of that mat, you can do that. If not, don't do it. And then just breathe. And let the pose do the work for you. Just let yourself release into your breath. One more nice full breath. And now as you start to head on back up with the knees, go ahead and uncross when you're ready. Get yourself straightened out. Bring your hips on back into line there. And then have a couple of little pelvic tilts. Let you release your back here. As you exhale, tailbone curls up, low back comes into the ground. And it is optional whether you decide you want to roll up through your spine from here. You can do a little rolling bridge or even halfway up the spine if that feels good. Or if you're like, no, but I'd really like to do a regular bridge pose, you're more than welcome to bring your arms however you need, bent elbows or straight arms beside you, and press up into a bridge pose. So whether you want to come into that rolling through the spine, which for some people feels really good, like a massage, and for some people feels very not so good, you pick. Use a block if you'd rather and be in supported bridge. Good. And then when you are ready to come down, let your knees come on into your chest. And if a happy baby pose sounds pretty good, you can send your feet on up. You can hold on to the outside of the legs or reach up for your feet. But really listen to what your body needs to do. If it needs to move right now, if you need to do another pose, any other movement, just letting yourself take a minute or two here. Really take your time. Listen to what the body just wants to do. And I will Start to walk around, but don't rush. By the time I get lights out and get everything set here, maybe somebody will have decided they want a bolster if you are at home and you need something to help you be more comfortable. You can use blankets. You can use anything you have available. Just take your time. I have an inkling about a few of us. So I'll start to walk around. You're welcome. So remember, it's good to use some support underneath your knees if your back feels iffy. That can be very helpful. If a little support under the back of your head helps you find release, so that you, again, you don't want your chin jutting up. You don't want that short feeling in the back of your neck. So take your time. Take your time. If you need to move your arms, your legs around a little bit to get more easy, and your shoulders and your hips do. And just enjoy now, receiving your breaths in and out. Perhaps finding those little spaces between your breaths. Letting the body start to appreciate all you just did. It makes it so much easier to release at the end of a yoga class. So as the breath leads the body and the brain to those quieter places, just give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Allow yourself to completely and fully relax.
Let yourself now feel the ground underneath you, supporting you again. Allowing the breaths to come in and go out more fully and deeply. Starting to bring energy back now. Letting your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet, maybe even circling through your hands and feet, so your wrists, your ankles start to wake up into your arms, your legs. Let your body move however you need to. If you need to stretch, let yourself stretch. If you need to bring your knees up and in to relieve your back, do. And you know you're welcome to stay on your back, to roll on to either your right or your left side. If you're able to come into a soft fetal position on your side and give yourself a little bit of time to adjust there, you can. But be easy. When you do feel ready to rise up, let yourself come up to be seated comfortably, however that is for you. If you need to use a blanket or stretch your legs out or cross them, do. Let your eyes close again if they opened on your way up, so that you can come back to really staying inwardly focused a little bit longer, and with your breath, watching the breath in and out. And on your next exhale, letting your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Monday.